Hello, welcome to a quick help video about the topic B quiz. If you're having trouble, hopefully this will help. All right, so first question. Rush Henrietta Senior High School uses the function f of s, where s is the number of students, to model how many students have late arrival or early dismissal from school. A reasonable domain for this function would be. All right, so I want to point something out here. They're using f of s, and s is the number of students. Essentially, they're using s instead of x. The reason I bring that up is because the domain is, remember, domain stands for the x values, okay? Number of students values, okay? So when I'm looking at these, keep in mind, is it reasonable for there to be a negative number of students or to be decimal students? So when you're considering what of these options to pick, if you don't know what integers and real numbers are, I would look it up because that is the key to answering this question. Okay, question 2. The number of birds in a forest is decreasing by 3% every year. Originally, there were 5,400 birds. Which equation represents the number of birds? Okay, so I want to just refresh your memory. An exponential equation looks like this: a times b to the x. A is the initial value, so I'm just going to abbreviate IV, initial value. B is the growth or decay factor. Growth or decay factor. Okay, now it says decreasing by 3%. So hopefully you understand if we are decreasing, if the original amount is 100% and I'm decreasing by 3%, what you would do, okay? Also, keep in mind which of these two choices would make the most sense. Is it going to be growth or decay? If it's decreasing, hopefully that should be pretty obvious. That's about all I'm going to say about that question. All right, over which domain is the function only decreasing? All right, I'm going to help you out here with what I think makes the most sense for kind of splitting up this graph. So I see a section here. Ooh, that's not a very good line. Let me undo that. Let's make it a little bit thinner. There we go. All right, so I see a section here. I see one. Oh, this one's kind of weird. It's like it's in the middle, but not halfway. Okay, and then here. All right, so I see 4 sections. There's one here, 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 and here. Okay. Now, when you look at these choices, you're looking, remember, we read from left to right. Okay. So when you're looking at the graph, go from left to right, this direction. All right. Where does it look like it's going down or decreasing? I think there are 2 parts that look like it's decreasing. And if you focus on those 2 parts, you can probably identify easily which of these sections might make sense. That's about all I can say for number 3. Number 4, which representations are functions? All right, there's 2 things we're going to remember here to figure this one out. One of those is VLT, vertical line test. Remember what that says. All right. In an earlier video, one about on the review, I talk about the vertical line test. Also, for this problem here, or this choice 4, I want you to keep in mind if I'm doing a graph of this, it is actually going to look kind of like that. I think I can't remember. It might actually be above it. but it's going to look like this. And again, use your vertical line test to decide if it is a function or not. I'll just tell you for a vertical line test, if it crosses the graph more than once every time you draw a vertical line, if that vertical line hits the graph and then hits it again, it is not a function. Okay, but like if it's a straight line, you're only going to cross it one time. Okay, then it is a function. So that's one way we tell. The other is every input has exactly one output. One output. So every in has one out. Basically, what that means, if the x value repeats, it is not a function. Okay, so that should help you with choice 1 or 3. By the way, these are Roman numerals if you didn't know. All right, question 5. Graphed on the same axes below, population and energy use are compared over 80 years. Which of the following statements is false? All right, so make sure you're paying attention to that fact, because I can tell some people that answered this. We're looking at this to see if it was true and answering it that way. We're looking for the one that is false. That's about all I'm going to tell you. This one should be pretty easy. It's whether or not you can read a graph, and that's it. 6. The function f has a domain of 1, 3, 5, and 7, and a range of 2, 4, and 6. Could the following set of coordinates represent a function? So they give you these possibilities. First, yes or no. Some people did not actually even say yes or no. They just started to try to answer it. If you say yes or no, I think the best explanation, that because you have to explain, okay, it's 2 points. If you just pick yes or no, you could guess correctly, but if you don't explain it, you only get 1 point. The explanation, I would focus on the number of inputs and the number of outputs. Input and output. Remember, every input has exactly one output if it is a function. If it is not a function, then you would say something about the input and the output. Okay, I'm not going to tell you either way. All right, question 7. What is the significance of writing the domains in the following ways? What will be different about their graphs? All right, so first, here's what I would do. I would focus on the integers for option 1 and real numbers for option 2. Okay. Essentially, the domains are very similar. For option 2, it's going from -2. It's not letting me highlight here. From -2 to 4. For option 1, it's going from -2 to 4 also. But the graphs will be different. There is a great explanation of this in the video, in the example on the review. So if you didn't watch it or didn't get it, I strongly recommend doing that. I'm not going to go back through all of it here, but it's understanding the difference between integers and real numbers. If you don't know that, you better look it up. You should know that. Okay, question 8. Charlie, an 11th grader at the high school, earns $15 an hour as a short order cook at Tom Walls. Charlie uses the function m of h equals 15h to determine how much money his weekly pay is. So m of h. So that's essentially like the y value. After working H hours. That's your X values. So I'm actually going to go ahead and write this in here. So M of H, those are your Y's. H, that's your X. Okay. Charlie's parents still believe school is Charlie's primary job and restricts his work hours to a maximum of 2 hours a day after school, Monday and Wednesday. 2 hours a day after school, just Monday and Wednesday. Okay, those 2 days only. And 5 hours each Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he can, it doesn't mean he will work 5 hours those days. So you got to think of number of hours, okay, remember is our H. So the domain is our X values. So when you're writing out your domain, your X values, you're going to list them here. Now you can either list all of them, because there's a lot, but not too many. Or you can there's a shorter way of doing it using a ... And then using your answer from part A, write the range. Remember, that's the Y values or the M of H, Y values of the function. And again, use your curly bracket and list them all. I will tell you, Charlie cannot work an infinite number of hours. So if you've got infinity in your answer, you are wrong. Determine the value of M of n and explain using the context of the problem. So first, use this in the formula to figure it out. And then what does that mean? Okay, you better explain what it means. I will tell you this. You're going to do M of n, or excuse me, M of 9, not n, equals something. And then whatever that is, whatever that number is, explain what it means. Okay? You can connect the 9 and whatever that number is. Okay, for question 9, there is no grid or graph on my copy here. This is just blank, but I'm going to show you something. Okay, so they say graph f of x equals x squared minus 4. By the way, f of x is your y. Okay, over all real numbers, negative 3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 2. Now, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. There are some y values that go along with all of these x values. All right, so you're going to determine the range. When you do, well, first of all, you're going to find these values and you're going to plot those on a grid that is provided in eDoctrina for you. Okay, you have your x values. You're going to discover your y values. Then you're going to determine your range. By the way, your range should look something like this, or you can use interval notation, which would be your square brackets in this case, and in between two numbers. I'll give you an example. Using interval notation for negative 3 to 2 would look like this. Okay, so that's how you answer question 9. Okay, question 10. I am just about out of time, less than a minute left. So here's what I recommend. First, so they give us the function. Find out what w of 1 equals. How do you do that? Substitute 1 in for x. Okay, and then determine what that answer is. Then figure out what w of 3 is, doing the same thing, and what w of 2 is, again, doing the same thing. Then subtract those values and you will get some number. Okay, if those are the same, then you can say yes or no.